It's Time Warner Cable's Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. Glad you're with us. Glad to introduce you to, if you don't know him already, Mike Bonin, one of the newest members of the Los Angeles City Council. Sir, how's your new job?
New job's a blast.
Yes.
I'm actually having a lot of fun. It's a great new energy at City Hall. We have a new mayor, half the City Council's new. A lot of great ideas, good energy, people who are really intent on serving neighborhoods and putting their neighborhoods first.
But I have to ask you, you were chief of staff to your predecessor.
I was.
So at some level, you knew the landscape,
Sure.
or not so much? You didn't know what you didn't know.
Well, you know, I'm pretty familiar with the issues, and you know, I know where the bathroom is at City
Right.
Hall, and I know my neighborhoods really well because I've
course.
served them for 17 years. But there's a difference in the jobs from chief of
Right.
staff to elected. The analogy I use is it's like going from a scrub nurse to being a surgeon. You know the theater of operations, the procedure, but it's a whole different level of spotlight.
Now, just a few months into your tenure, there was a tremendous tragedy in the heart of your district. We all know and love the Venice Boardwalk,
Yep.
and sadly, an individual intentionally drove up onto the boardwalk. We lost, what's even more devastating, a tourist, an Italian tourist who was here on her honeymoon. You know, we live in America, we want to keep a free and open society, but at the same time, what are you looking toward to keep the Venice Boardwalk safe?
Well, we decided to act immediately in the wake of this tragedy, and you know, our hearts go out to Alice Grippione and her family. She was here on her honeymoon, her dream vacation. You know, as soon as it happened, I met with the cops and the firefighters on the scene, and we immediately began to assess, you know, what the problems were at the beach, not just with that particular situation, but other vulnerabilities. Hard to stop a madman who's determined to harm, maim, and kill, but we did realize or analyze at that point that there's 30 different ways to get to the boardwalk, and you can drive a vehicle onto the boardwalk at almost any of them.
You told me where the individual drove on, there actually had been a barrier.
This guy went around barriers in order to get there. I mean, he was clearly, in my mind, out to find a way to
Create
harm
mayhem.
people. He went around barriers over a sidewalk. But there's about 30 other entry points where vehicles can drive on, and tourists, generally following a GPS, often do so. They're lost and confused, and there's occasionally accidents. And I want to do anything I can to avoid someone accidentally hitting the gas, panicking, and hurting people. So we're going to be installing barriers, some temporary, some permanent, but I don't want it to look like Fortress Venice. So in the places where we can have retractable bollards or barriers, we will. In other areas where they're going to be permanent, I'd like to see bike racks or art, sculptures, or flower pots that can have the same intent of preventing someone from driving on, but look like a park and a playground and not a prison.
Now, we know when we go to Venice or other parts of the city, it can be difficult to find a parking spot.
Yes.
What's even more frustrating is when there is a parking meter that's broken. I had always presumed if it's broken, I could park there, but there had been some gray area, and tickets started to be issued for those that parked at broken parking meters. There's a new cop in town, I guess.
There's a new councilman in town,
fair
and
enough.
that policy ain't there anymore.
Right.
That was the first motion I put in on day one. Is you know, I'd heard a lot of frustration about that, and my feeling is that government should be on people's sides and not on their backs. And that was an example of government being on people's backs. And I'm proud that my colleagues unanimously supported me in repealing that.
How do we make sure, though, that this doesn't send the message to break a meter?
Technology is our friend.
Okay.
You know, I'm a big booster of technology. I've got Silicon Beach growing in my district.
Yes, you do.
I'm trying to use technology to modernize the city and make it more efficient and transparent. This is an example where that's happened. The new technology with the meters makes them very hard to break because now it's not just coins, it's also credit cards. Right. And so they're hard to break. And we get a notice immediately when they do. So.
His name is Mike Bonin. He is one of the newest members of the Los Angeles City Council. I'm Brad Pomerance. Thanks for watching Time Warner Cable's Local Edition.